Knees and toes.
The shoulders have to do with anything.
Because of what you did to my bold prediction. Yes, I'm taking this too far, but I don't care. We're
The
going.
noise is great for those who are audio only.
What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, April 10th, 2026. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil. Episode 429. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky, Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Look for time breakdowns in the description of the show. This past week, Phil's article came out on Tuesday. Give that a read. You only had to dissect 5 Vancouver goals. Boo-hoo, pity party for them. Interview on Wednesday came out with Rochester's own Chamberlain Botter. Go listen to that. He's the communications and lacrosse ops for the Rochester Knighthawks. Pretty elusive title there around the NLL. There's only 14 others in those roles. Give that a listen. Dove deep. It's a long episode, but I absolutely loved it. Power rankings and week 20 pick'em come out on Thursday. We're recording this early on Wednesday because I had a conflict on Thursday. Phil wanted to bump this up on Wednesday, so we're doing this like extra early. So if there's news that breaks on Thursday or late Wednesday, listen for it on Monday because we don't care. We're going on a mini vacation here. We deserve it. We have not missed a single episode in like 3 years, I think it is. I was doing the total. On today's episode, Buffalo versus Rochester preview, week 20 outlook. We got the Ask the BSC. We got 2 questions with that and the Sabres last game. But Phil, these last few days, is this like the prime example of living in Western New York, like this weather? Like it went from 60s or 70s over the weekend to I had frost this morning on my car, and now I'm in a short sleeve short and probably wearing shorts after this episode's over to go work. It's insane. Like if anybody wants, like people joke about you could have all 4 seasons in one day. Not lying. We just went through all 4 seasons, except for rain, and I think we're getting that tomorrow. It's insane around here.
Yeah, the within 24-hour 40-degree difference.
It's insane.
Is not nice. I don't love it. Yeah, it's hard to know what to wear ever. You go to work with your winter jacket bundled up, and you leave not wearing anything but a short sleeve. And I wish it was just sitting between 40 and 60 like a true spring. I could handle that and would actually probably enjoy it. But instead, we're getting these, and it's not even like sustained highs and lows. It's like you said, like one within 12 to 24 hours, it's 70, back down to 30, back up to 70. So it's not even like, oh, we got 3 days of 70, but then 3 days of cold and 3 days of set. Like it's just so extreme within 24 hours that you can't do anything with the weather. It's windy as all get out as well because of the temperature changes, and it's tough to enjoy. Today is actually really nice. At work, I got to do some stuff on the roof, planned it based on what I saw this weather looking like, and just hung out on the roof for a little bit. So that was nice. But other than today, it's been literally hot and cold. Not enjoying it. I just want a spring. Like, give me some 50s, some low 60s, I wouldn't even mind some 40s, but these highs and lows, as extreme as they are, have been a little annoying.
As I've said, spring, worst season around. Like maybe some other areas have nice springs and legit good springs. Springs in Western New York suck donkey butt. It's awful. But we'll move on to something that doesn't suck donkey butt. Buffalo Sabres. They beat Tampa Bay 4-2. Phil, they're officially back. The wagon is out in front of KeyBank Center, and it should remain there through the end of the season. Like, whenever it ends, leave it there. Tuck, Norris, Zucker, and Quinn with the empty netter. UPL is establishing himself, and I think he has fully established himself as the number 1 goalie going into playoffs. He's come a long way from me wanting to ship him out with a bag of pucks for literally nothing. Buffalo outshot him. Their power play still stinks, but their penalty kill is still rock solid. Their John Cooper was complaining about and wanting somebody in the penalty box fired. It had a little bit of everything except the extra spiciness of the first. Like, it was going to be impossible to replicate that last game, the 8-7 victory for Buffalo. It was going to be impossible to replicate it. But Buffalo goes 3-0-1 against Tampa on the season. I know they got a game on Wednesday and Thursday, so they got 2 more games before you even hear this, but I do not even care anymore. My question to you is, because they can't fall further than their division, the top 3 in their division. So to me, I'm asking you this.
That alone is wild, right there.
Yeah, it's insane, especially considering where they were in the beginning of December. Who are you most interested in facing, and who are you least interested in facing? And I kind of broke it down on who. There's still so many possibilities right now, because as of this recording right now, and it's gonna be outdated, so I'm not gonna hammer it home too much. It's a 3-way tie with all 4 teams: Montreal, Tampa, and Buffalo, with 102 points with 4 games left. It's insane. Tampa and Montreal still face each other. Buffalo's got 2 games again before you're even listening to this, but the possibilities are in the first round: Tampa, Montreal, Boston, Ottawa, Philly, Columbus, and then the oddballs of Detroit, New York Islanders, and Washington. So who is the most realistic team that you want to see in round 1, and who is somebody that you're just dreading to possibly be able to see?
Yeah, I don't really want anyone that is realistic for Buffalo, which is unfortunate. I think, like, right now, if playoffs started today, again, this is going to be outdated, but they'd be matched up against Montreal. Don't love that. Montreal is looking real good right now. They're extremely hot riding into playoffs, so I don't love that. Outside of that, right now, Tampa Bay is slated to win it and play Boston as the top wild card, and I wouldn't hate that as a realistic option. I don't love it, but I think out of the options, I would prefer the Bruins over Tampa and Montreal by quite a bit, so I hope Buffalo does everything in their power to take the division, because I'd much rather play the wild card than either of those other 2 teams. Outside of that, I'd love to be in the Metropolitan Division. Give me some Philly, maybe some Blue Jackets, whatever the heck's going on down there. Would much rather play the bottom teams over there, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I think the Hurricanes are probably going to lock up the Eastern Conference, so they're going to get the wild card too, which is, again, going to be one of those oddball teams that you'd prefer to play. So out of the realistic options for Buffalo, I really hope they win the division, can find a way to sneak in there and get the Bruins most likely. I'd rather not see Tampa or Montreal in round 1.
Yeah, that's about where I am. I don't think you're going to catch Carolina, and that means they're going to get the worst of the 2 wild card spots, which currently is, sitting Philly, which is insane. Or no, is it Philly? I can't remember.
No, it's the Senators right now.
It's the Senators. Yeah, you're right. Okay, that's why I don't even have them in here. That's because I think Carolina's kind of locked up with them. Yeah, it's pretty much down to Tampa, Montreal, and Boston, and it's kind of pick your poison. Like, Boston's probably the worst of the evils. That's why you kind of want to win this division. It's going to be tough, but I do agree. Out of the next options, Montreal probably. I know Buffalo's record against Tampa is very, very good, and they match up very well against Tampa. But Tampa's just got that experience in the playoffs that Buffalo and Montreal both don't. But like you said, it's so weird that Pittsburgh, who's going to be like, if you do 1 through 8, they should be the 5th seed about, and they're going to be facing like the worst team in the Eastern Conference right now.
They'd be 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like, I know we've been doing this show for 5 years, so there's been 5 playoffs that we could have addressed this, but the Sabres were never even close, so we never had to worry about it. It's stupid. Like, Gary Bettman, stupid. It's the worst commissioner in all of sports. He's terrible. I mean, Rob Manfred's pushing for him, but the ABS system has been so amazing that it boosted him up a level. But yeah, that's kind of my feelings on it, as well as is Boston's the best of all evils, and then Montreal and Tampa. So you got to find a way to win it, and it does start Wednesday versus the Rangers, and then they have back-to-back nights, Columbus on Thursday. So when you're listening to this, pretty much everything I said is probably going to be obsolete. Don't really care. But they'll finish Monday versus Chicago, and then next Wednesday in Dallas. So 4 games left. When you're listening to this, they only got 2. You'll have a better perspective on where we sit. I should say where the Sabres sit after talking to this. But yeah, I thought the Tampa Bay game was great. I still hate the Stanley Shen matchup, and I know the reason they did it. Don't come down my throat. But Shen should not see a playoff roster unless the drastic happens and the injuries just pile up on the back end. Like, it never hurts to have him on the depth role. Yep. Because if we've saw what happened in years past where, McKay gets a staph infection and Kalinen's down and Newman's down, and you go down and you got your 5th and 6th defenseman as your 1 and 2 pair. So it doesn't hurt to have him there, but he should be in like the vast, like, break glass.
The lowest
if the 5 other glasses were already used.
Yep.
Yeah, but Metza should be in front of him. Kesselring should be in front of him. Like,
Timmins.
Call up Ryan Johnson. Like, Shen is not an NHL defenseman anymore. He almost burned him multiple times. I freaking hate Shen on this team. But I get why they have him. It's for the push. I get why he was in the lineup. But it was such a big game to put him in the lineup just in case something pops off. I didn't like that decision. You could have been just as good with Kesselring in there, who, again, hasn't been great. But I feel like Shen's just like, he's not an NHL player anymore. But that's all I got for the Sabres.
Power play needs to be better. I mean, we've been saying it literally all season, so I don't think it's going to magically be fixed, but could be their downfall when it comes to playoffs. I mean, you just can't be going 0 for 4 on the power play consistently in playoffs when games are going to come down to 1 goal. That's not great, but it was nice to see them bounce back after the 2-game skid against a really talented Tampa team. So if they would have dropped a really bad game there, I would have been pretty worried after the previous 2 games, but seeing them able to get up for that game and find a good way to win and looked pretty good in it, it kind of restored the confidence of where the team is at and where they could be moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I'm happy that we didn't hammer them too hard after the 2 losses.
If they would have lost like 6-2 or something in Tampa, then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's why I'm happy I more cried in the last episode instead of hammering them about the 2 losses. But I agree with the power play. I don't think you're going to get 4 opportunities in the playoffs because refs swallow their whistles from what I remember. But yeah, it's definitely going to come down to, because if you have 1 or 2 shots, you got to cash in because everybody, like, I do agree, power play could come back to haunt them in the playoffs, and that's why you should have fired South Africa a while ago. But they're on such a hot streak. Why would you? We'll move on. Ask the BSC. We got 2 questions written in. We asked this 24 hours, or roughly 24 hours before the episode is recorded. It's still technically up, and last I checked, we still don't have any more questions in. So we got 2 questions that sent into us. If you want to, we're going to be doing this all through probably the off season as well. So if we don't get any in the off season, too bad. We just won't have that segment in that episode. But we'll move on here. First question that came in. What is our ideal first round matchup and what is a nightmare first round matchup? And they made it specific. It has to be realistic. So I kind of dove into this, and this was also your idea before I even told you that I was doing this. This is how in sync we are, is to figure out my most realistic options that Buffalo could be facing here. I was like, okay, let me just predict the rest of the season. There's only 2 more weeks, max 3 games per team, and figure out where everybody falls in the standings. So based on that, okay, where Buffalo could fall and then where their opponents could fall. So my final standings really are Saskatchewan finishes 13-5. They have the head-to-head over Vancouver, so they finished 13-5, 1-2. Colorado finishes 12-6. They have the head-to-head over Buffalo because of the goal differential. Buffalo falls to the 4 seed at 12-6. Buffalo has the head-to-head over Georgia, who is also 12-6, so they fall to the 5 seed. I got Toronto at 11-7. I got Vegas at 9-9 and Ottawa at 9-9, and Vegas has the head-to-head over Ottawa. So in that position, based on my predictions, which have kind of looked pretty good so far, minus Buffalo, I was most hard on them predicting this, even when we were trying to figure out the quest of 9. But I knew San Diego was going to fall. I picked Halifax to fall off, but even though they were kind of off before, Vegas was struggling to get in, but I had them in. I think I had them in at like 8 and 10, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go back and listen. But in this position, I got Buffalo finishing 4th, which means they would host a playoff game versus Georgia. We saw that 2 years ago. So realistically, Buffalo can fall anywhere from 1 to 7. Saskatchewan, Vancouver, Colorado really can't fall further than 6. I don't see a way Buffalo faces San Diego if they get in, Rochester, Halifax, or Las Vegas, or even Ottawa, because I think all those teams right there can finish 7 and 8, like 7 and 8 spot, and I don't see Buffalo getting up to the number 1 or 2 seed unless something drastic happens. I also don't see them possibility of facing Saskatchewan or Vancouver because based on the seedings, I don't see how Saskatchewan or Vancouver even falls far enough and Buffalo raises high enough where that's even a possibility. I really think Buffalo finishes anywhere between 3 and 5. So they're facing the 4, 5, 6 type of seed. So most realistic that I would most likely see is Toronto, Georgia, even possibly Colorado, Saskatchewan barely, but I can't see it. My most ideal, it's a long way of me coming back to this. My most ideal is Toronto. My nightmare is Georgia, and that's kind of how my predictions fell, is Buffalo hosts Georgia, and you have to see Dawson. And we saw what happened a couple of years ago. Thank you, Josh Byrne.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where I'm at, which is pretty boring. I do think the worst case scenario is Buffalo at Georgia. I would, if I have to face Georgia, I'd much rather see them at home, get the home crowd behind them. But we've seen it a lot in the playoffs, and I think, to me, if you're going to lose a game or a game's going to be stolen in the playoffs, it's not because an offense exploded and you lost 15-14.
Right.
Like it seems like it's so much more shifted to a goaltender can steal a game by himself pretty much. Like, the defense can do well, offense can do whatever, but it really comes down to the goalie being able to steal a game for his team in the playoffs. And to me, if there's any goalie this year that's going to do that, it's going to be Brett Dawson. So we've already seen it once a few years ago with Georgia and Buffalo, and you could argue that Buffalo's offense was better last time they played them than this time, but you also saw it with San Diego. Was it last year?
Yeah, it was last year, 5-4.
Yep. So many championships, they all just blend together.
Too many of these episodes too.
But yeah, 5-4, 5-3, whatever you want to call it. But that was, 5 goals against. That is how you can get goalied. And if San Diego would have been able to put some kind of offense together, that's how you lose a game in the first round in a one and done. And I think out of the teams you listed, I think Dawson and Georgia is the team that can pull that off. I think the way Buffalo's playing right now, there's no one that really horrifies me in the fact that I think right now, I think Buffalo proved it last week, that if they're playing their best, they can beat anybody in the league. So there's no one that truly, I'm just like, I don't see a way Buffalo can beat this team anymore. I think Buffalo can beat everyone if they're playing the top of their game. But we've seen it so often this season. How many times have we said, even though we hate saying and don't want to say it, Buffalo got goalied in this game, and we've said it so many times. And even against San Diego, O'Rig pretty much goalied them, and they needed a fourth quarter comeback. And then, against the Rush, they got goalied against Frank Shaliano, and they had a fourth quarter comeback that happened late. In the playoffs, those fourth quarter comebacks are going to be much more difficult to come up with. Yes, Buffalo's done it in the past, even against Nick Rose in Toronto, which is why Toronto would be the better team to play. But ideally, you get Toronto at home. That's best case scenario, I think, from what realistically could happen. I think worst case scenario is Buffalo away at Georgia. I think that would be pretty much a nightmare scenario. I don't love Buffalo away at Colorado either. I think Colorado, to me, compared to Georgia, is the more well-rounded team. They have the offense that can keep up with Buffalo. They have a great goalie. They have great defense, but I don't think Buffalo can get goalied like they can against Georgia and Brett Dawson the way that Ward and Colorado can play. I think Ward can do it, absolutely. I'm not saying he doesn't have it in him. He's still an amazing goalie, but Dobson's just on a different level this year, and if you run into him on an extremely hot day, no matter how good Vinc and the defense are, it might be one of those games that just, even if the offense looks good, you just can't get past him and you lose 3-2. And it's the most boring playoff game we've ever seen in our lives.
Yeah, I hope that's the most well-rounded answer we could provide here. I have a question off this question because I know why they asked this one. But yeah, and for everybody that's wondering, why is Georgia the worst nightmare situation? We already proved that we can beat them. I can just hear all the fans saying, and now you beat them 15-11 earlier in the season. That was game 1. They had like 6 rookies in their lineup, And a lot has changed since then. So I still don't buy Georgia's offense. I still think that there's something to be desired there. They still need another piece. And
Yes.
I know where they are now. I'm talking about next year. They need another piece, and hopefully Lyle comes back. And I hear everybody saying, but you just beat Toronto. I get that. But Dobson is playing at like a record level. Like things that people have never seen in this league before, he's on pace to do. In a one and done, and this is where it's going to transfer in my question here. In a one and done, I don't want to face a goalie that can put up 3 goals allowed. Like he can realistically do that. I don't want to see a goalie that can just shut it down, make 50 saves, and look like it's nothing. Like I'd rather face a goalie that Buffalo knows much better. Buffalo has had the advantage over the team and the organization for years. That's why, to me, I said it a couple episodes ago, and it's holding true here. If you had told me, I think it was last episode or 2 episodes ago, if I could sign up for round 1 in Hamilton versus Toronto or the Field, I'm signing up with the knowing what I know about the history of that matchup. And it's true today. Like, I don't want Buffalo to have to go against Dobson in a one and done. And that kind of transitions into my question here is when the NLL, because I'm not going to say if, because we believe in the league and we believe in the direction they're going and the growth that's possibly there. When the league does eventually grow to more teams and more games, do you want to see them get rid of this one and done first round matchup? Or do you want them to just be a 1 game, a 3 game, and then a 5 game series moving forward? Because to me, weirdly, and I know maybe some people might see this as like a gimmick type of thing of a league, I absolutely love, and I haven't always been this way, I've come around to it, I love the one and done first round matchup because that's where you can see all these upsets. And yeah, in the finals, you might not see the best teams because they might have gotten upset in the first round. But to make it a do or die, like the entertainment value and the pressure and everything that comes with a one and done, like we saw at the last two one and dones for Buffalo, like the Georgia overtime, electric. People still talk about that game. The 5-4 game, people still talk about that one. Like if it's a series, yeah, you might like reference like, hey,
Right.
game 1, but they dropped game 2. What are your thoughts on when the league does grow to a point where they might not have to do this? Are you still in favor of doing that and expanding the rest of the playoffs, or you want them to expand this as well?
I could see both sides, and I
Yeah.
think you kind of laid out both sides of the argument really well. Where we'll say Buffalo went on to win, but we'll say Buffalo lost to Georgia in overtime that year. I think you could have argued pretty easily that Buffalo should have been the best team that year
Right.
and was the best team, but then they're out of the playoffs. So are you truly getting the best team? And Georgia at that point, like maybe Dobson has that great game, but then they get demolished the next 2 games in a 3-game series because they're really not that good of a team. And you end up with kind of a free pass for the next team, or just a team that snuck through the first round, but then really didn't deserve to be past that first round, and then just gets smoked in the next round. And then you're like, okay, well, what if Buffalo would have been there? Could they have advanced all the way to the championship? So I get that side of it. I also get the side of a one and done is really electric and horrifying. I mean, you see it even in baseball with the wild card game to get into the playoffs. Like that's a really intense one. I think it's a one and done, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So it's that kind of idea. So even though you just said it's gimmicky, I mean, the MLB is doing a different style, obviously, because it's the 2 bottom teams trying to add 1 more team into the playoffs. It's not 1 versus 8, so you're not necessarily getting that matchup. But I don't really know which way I would want, because, again, you get the intensity of the round 1. You get the, like you said, people are still talking about that Georgia game, maybe in Buffalo a bit more than elsewhere, but it's a game that you're not really going to forget. Yet round 2, you forget most of what happened in round 2, but that overtime game, you're still talking about it. Even round 3, you're like, I don't know, they won. They won, I think, what was it, 2 games that year?
Yes.
Was that
Yeah,
that was the
they swept
undefeated
Albany.
season?
Yep.
And again, like you remember those games a little bit, but you remember that Georgia game more than anything that series. So I think the game becomes a lot more memorable and that much more intense for that round one. So I love that aspect of it. But on the flip side, are you really getting the best winner? But you can say that about any sport at any time. Like even in round two, there might be a few crazy bounces here and there, and the best team's out again. Like it's just that's sports. So I think I've talked myself into sticking with the round one and done. Yeah, I mean that's how sports are. I mean, the best team doesn't always win. You just saw it with USA and Canada in hockey. Did Canada outplay the US that entire game? Yes. Were they probably the better team? Most likely, but USA won, and that's why you play. That's what sports are. That's why you play the game. The best team doesn't always win. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with the intensity and excitement of a one and done round one.
Yeah, and especially for people that are content creators like us, that's talking points. Because if the best team doesn't win, you can go all season of going, okay, if this was a 3-game series, what happens? And then what happens in round two? Like, it's conversation starters of, okay, say Albany would have ended up winning that year because Buffalo got bounced in round one. How many Bandits fans would still be out there talking right now? Well, if the ball went the other way in overtime, the best team didn't actually win because you didn't have to face Buffalo. Like that would still be a talking point to this day. And I maybe I go on this show and doing the interviews and everything. I try to take off my bias hat as much as I humanly possibly can, but I know it's still down there. And I mean, I'm wearing a hat for God's sake. So maybe had they dropped one of these ones in round one in a one and done, maybe I would be feeling a little bit differently. Like maybe if I was San Diego or Georgia, that's a Georgia person that's covering the team.
Right.
Maybe I would be feeling a little bit differently of, okay, what would it look like in a 3-game series though? So maybe that part of my bias that I try to get rid of is still sitting there, but I feel like I do a good enough job of taking off that I don't think it's influent. Like I think the one and done, like it gives me the vibes of everybody's favorite weekend of the year. In 2 days is the Thursday, Friday of the start of the college basketball, March Madness. Like everybody wants to see the upsets. Like everybody absolutely loves to see the 15 seed beat the 2 seed or, the 3 seed fall into the 14 seed. Everybody loves to see that. That to me is what it is. Maybe down the line when this is like one of the major sports in the world, then you can move to, a 5-game series in round one when the more revenue is there. But I think this does more good than harm, especially when it consider getting the eyeballs on the sport. Like if you were to tell somebody like, hey, this number 1 seed going against the number 8 seed, if they lose, they're done. Like this isn't a series.
Every first round matchup much more watchable.
Yes.
And horrifying.
Yep.
In the best way.
I think it does more good to the sport and to the potential fan base than it does the harm of a possible upset. And you got to look towards golf season already. But our second question here is, what are the chances out of 100%? And I don't even want to ask this one, but I'm asking it. What are the chances out of 100% this is the final home game ever in a Buffalo Bandits uniform or in a uniform at all for Matt Vinc, Kyle Buchanan, and Paul Dawson? I'm going to let you take this one first because I don't really want to answer it.
Yeah, it's depressing. I'll say that. Even last offseason, there were a lot of rumors floating around that it was going to be done and that was it. And it was real sad to imagine, to think about not only for their careers, but what it means for Buffalo. And seeing that they all came back, I was like, all right, here we go. Thank goodness. And just the relief of them returning was huge. It's depressing to imagine a team without them, but I think it's pretty low that chances out of 100% they return. So what?
No, this is their final home game ever.
Oh, okay.
So that means Buffalo doesn't get a home round, and they might be one and done.
Yeah, I think Dawson and Buchanan were lucky to come back at all this season. I think Buchanan more than anyone, I thought we heard a lot of he's not going to come back. And then when he did, I think it was a huge surprise in the best way because, my goodness, can you not replace him? And he's been really good this season again. So, just keep going, please. But realistically, I think he's likely done. I think Dawson, I could see him maybe switching roles, or maybe he's a depth defenseman on this team, depending on who they can add if Vince were to return. If Vince is done, Dawson's done for sure. And then for Vince, it's wild to continue to consider that it's just up to him. Like you said, could he play another 10 years at this level? Like, it just watching him every year and seeing literally no drop off at all is crazy. And I think it's just another season that proves, could he do it again next year? Absolutely. So it's really just up to him. Does he want to continue to do it at such a high level? Does he want to go out on top? Or wherever I'm not saying that they're going to win this year, but whatever this year means, he's still playing really, really well. So where does he want to finish his career? It is really up to him, I think. I don't think it's just going to stop. It's just where he wants to end it. It's hard to know with him. I would say that it's high, but I've thought that for 3 years now, that there was a good chance he's not going to return, and he continues to come back. And I know the summer, unless he just comes out and says it right away, like this, like whenever their season ends, however it ends, like if he just says right away, like that was it, I'm done, that would be appreciated. If it's going to come down to that, because I don't want to wait all summer. But if the hope is still alive, I will happily wait all summer to see him possibly return. I think all three are done realistically. But it would be nice if they were not.
Yeah, thanks for writing this in. I think, like, we're going into the 17th game, we're talking about the final games. But I get the question, because this literally could be the final time you see them in a Bandits uniform on home turf.
Or last home game for regular season.
I do think that these three, if I'm being completely honest, again, taking off any fandom hat and hopeful hat, I do think that this is their final season. Just based on the conversations that I've heard in press conferences and podcasts and articles, I really do think that these three guys are done. I think Paul Dawson's done for sure. Like, I think he's lost even a further step. I know he's played really well the last couple weeks, but I just don't think that even the tank that he had last year, I think it's on E. I really do. I think Bucky's done. I think he could keep playing, but I don't think that. I think family means more. And again, I'm putting myself in his shoes, so don't hear what I'm not saying. I think his off the field stuff is more there with his kids growing up than it is on the field right now. And Vince, I think it's 85%. Like, this is the highest I've ever been, thinking that this is the final year of him. I usually am around 50-50. Last year it got to like 60-40 that he was done, just based on the conversations. But realistically, I am at 100% that this is their last regular season home game. I think it's writings on the wall. I think it's 100%. They will not be back next year. And that means they're not back in another uniform either. I think they're done. Last overall home game, though, I'm putting it at like a 20%, because I really do think that Buffalo is going to host a playoff game. I think it's a first round home playoff game. I'm not where I am yet, because I don't know their home first round opponent, but I do think that at least one more time sitting here right now, we will see them in another uniform on home turf. But the possibility that this is the last time you see those three guys in a Bandits home uniform is there. So if that's not more incentive to go out there and watch what they're doing, because, like, putting aside what Paul Dawson and Kyle Buchanan have done for this team in this league, to me, and I said it in the last episode, Mad Vince is the greatest player that has ever played in lacrosse. Like, I think he's past John Tavares. Again, this is no shot at any of the greats that have come before him. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I think that he's just eclipsed them with his length of playing this sport. But on top of it, there's just been no letdown. Like, some of these guys that have 300 games and 290 games and so on and so forth, they've played a long time, but at the end you see the drop off and you see why they hung him up. That's not there with Matt Vince. Like, I'm not, like I said in the last episode, I'm not joking. He can play another 10 years and you won't see a drop off. The only drop off is going to come when he decides, I'm done playing. You're not going to see it on the field, because he will not put on a uniform if he knows the drop off's coming. It's just not going to happen. So last home game, 20%, still a possibility. Last regular season home game, I got it 100%. So hopefully that answered your question. Please don't ask any of those type of questions again, because I don't like going through this. There's a reason I have the Mad Manny Minute, because I'm offering my services to bring him back to Buffalo. It's probably going to be back in full steam this summer, and I'm going to have to start working up with ideas here. And I'm not looking forward to, I already have such limited time.
I think at the end of the season, he'll be one game away from the games record. So maybe they'll sign him. He just has to start a game, run off.
He doesn't even have to start. He's just got to back him up.
Even better. He can be the gatekeeper for 2 games, and then we'll see you later.
He's got to be the backup for 2 games. And then at the end of the second game, he rips off the uniform, and underneath it is the suit coat, because he's going behind the bench. Like there's a spot for him behind the bench. Steve Dietrich.
There's going to be so many goalies on that bench.
So many. I mean, there was 4 to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the preview here. Buffalo coming in 10-6, Rochester 6-9. Buffalo clinched a playoff spot, but they're still trying to get that home playoff game. Rochester is fighting for their playoff lives. If they drop this one, I don't know. I haven't done the math, because they got a doubleheader next week versus Georgia, but I don't know how you realistically get in with 10 losses. Like, I think if Vegas wins, I don't think that I don't see it. Like, I don't know the tiebreakers, but I don't see, if Rochester loses this one, getting in the playoffs. So maybe if they do lose, they're fully eliminated and something else happens. But Buffalo's coming in 5th in the league in scoring. Rochester 2nd. Buffalo goals against has been dropping, Phil. It's been dropping a lot. We were a little worried in the beginning. Well, actually, we weren't. The league was 6th in the league. Rochester's down in last at 13.13. Like 13-13, not great. Power play. Buffalo's first. Rochester is 2nd, though. And then penalty kill, Buffalo's 2nd. Rochester's down in 13th. Shots for, Buffalo's 8th. Rochester's 1st. Shots against, Buffalo's 3rd. Rochester's 8th. So to me, special teams could play a major factor in this one, because while both their power plays are excellent, Rochester's penalty kill is not very good, while Buffalo's penalty kill is very good. So I could see that special teams plays a big factor. And don't even just look at the record, guys. Like, we're going to go over in a minute. Rochester beat Buffalo pretty handily earlier on, and I know the score didn't indicate it, but Buffalo's offense didn't look very good. I could see that the difference in this one is power play. And if Buffalo's power play is on and Buffalo's penalty kill shuts it down, I think that could be the big difference in this game.
Yeah, the other thing that concerns me as a just general overlook of the game is you're going up against an extremely desperate team. Yeah. It's a desperate team that just lost 15-10 against another desperate team, but it is going to come down to me, with like, how much can Buffalo get up for this game? It's a home game, which helps. Buffalo needs to continue moving up the seeding. They have talked about it nonstop, how important. I just had a doorbell go off. How important.
That's Hartley coming to knock your lights off by saying all these mean things.
I'm going to leave it locked. How important. Now I lost my train of thought.
How it is important to stay that focus, because it's such a hungry team.
I guess.
That bubble's gone. That bubble got popped.
Yeah, it really is. Wow. I got nothing now. It is long gone. But I have no idea. I have no idea how important something is. Something's really important to this team. Rochester needs to win. There it is. How important the getting a home playoff game is to Buffalo. So, yes, Rochester's going to be playing desperate as far as we want to obviously make playoffs, but I think Buffalo is going to be desperate to get the home playoff game. They talked about it a lot, about how much it means to them to be able to play that first round again, one and done in Buffalo and behind that crowd. So I do think, even though I think Rochester's going to be the more desperate team to get the victory and not kiss their season goodbye, I think Buffalo is going to want this game just as badly, because they want to continue climbing up those standings to get that home playoff game.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's a good reason and a good thought process of why it's so good that Buffalo did have those struggles in the early season, because they do still have something to play for here. It's still a game, and they still have something to try to achieve, because they've never started the playoffs on the road. The worst they've ever been is a 4th seed, and that was the Georgia game. So I think their momentum and their reason for showing up in this game, not just because it's the last home game, but because, you don't want to slip to the 6th seed and have to
Right.
host go to a Saskatchewan or a Vancouver or a Colorado, because there is still a realistic possibility that Buffalo could, as slim as it is, Buffalo could slip to that 6th seed. Vancouver could slip to the 3 seed, and you're facing one of the top dogs in round 1 and one of the top dogs going home. Like that's a realistic possibility. But if Buffalo comes out and wins, that realistic possibility like gets popped, and it's almost near impossible. But they did face each other nearly, and it'll be about 3 months ago when this is airing. They lost 12-9, and I'm taking full ownership of this because I was in the box in Rochester, and my losing streak carried with me. But Buffalo outshot them. They outfaced off them. Both teams were perfect on the power play. But Rochester was up 4-2 after 1, 7-5 at halftime, 8-6 after 3. Buffalo got it to 9-7 with 13:37 to go, and 11-9 with 121 to go. But Rochester would score each time. Like, this was the first game, and this was the start of that 4-game losing streak where the offense didn't look right. Like, the only player with multi-goals in this game was Kyle Buchanan. Everybody else was 1 or nothing. Like Nanticoke, 1 goal. McKay, 1, 2, and 3. Byrne, 1, 3, and 4. And this was the start of his stretch of struggling. Scanlon only had 1. Smith, 1 for 13 shooting. Vinc played fairly well, but this was another game where they were getting goalie. And I came on the show and just going like Hartley played unbelievable. He was making unbelievable saves, but you also have to remember, this was the first game without Mitch DeSnew in the lineup. This was the one where he got hurt the game before. Belter wasn't in this lineup. You still had Dooley in because he got called up. You still had Matisse, Triolo, and Ranjan in this lineup. Like, this team that Buffalo faced in Rochester is completely different now. Like, yeah, Rochester still has pretty much the same pieces and added Blaze, but McCombie went 3, 4, and 7. Fields was pretty much contained to 2, 3, and 5. And yeah, that's a contained game. Lanchbury kind of went out later in this game, but Zed had 3. Waters had 1. Smith had 1. And then Hartley played unbelievable. So while Buffalo's team might look very different, the team that kind of said, like, we're not the little brothers anymore, and then the season's kind of flipped, is still there in Rochester. And while their season might be crumbling and falling apart and they have a different head coach, all the pieces there are still there that can be a threat. And their offense, and that, I guess that's can transition to here, their offense is one of the best in the league, and they're proving it time and time again this season.
Yeah, they even when they're struggling recently, the offense has still been doing decent. It hasn't been nearly as lethal as it was early in the year, but still putting up some big games, and they still have plenty of talent on that team where you cannot take this team lightly. I don't think Buffalo will, but I think it'll be a good test. I mean, it is one of the better offenses in the league. Buffalo's defense and Matt Vinc have been playing ridiculous the last few games against top talent. So I think it'll be another good test. I mean, I don't know how many tests Buffalo needs in this ridiculous win streak they've had, but I do think as far as the offense goes, or the defense goes for Buffalo, offense for Rochester, I do think it is a really good test where they have a lot of weapons. They have different style weapons. Like Zed, like you said, took it to him a little bit early in that game, in the Rochester game, and he did it by using his size and just bullied his way to the net. Can Buffalo adjust to that this time and see how they do against that style of play? Rochester has a lot of different looks they can throw at you, and I think that's going to be good for Buffalo as far as tuning up for the playoffs and getting ready and seeing a different style offense, and how their defense that switched after that Vancouver game and since this win streak, see how they do against a team with a little bit of a different style offense than I think they've really seen in the last few games.
Yeah, and when you're looking at Rochester's team, I mean, they've been running... It's been a weird type of lineup that they've been running. I mean, the lefties are Fields, Hogue, McConvey, and Blaze Reardon, and the righties are Lanchbury, Smith, Waters, and Zed. But the last few games, they've been running Zed out the back door. Like, every once in a while, Blaze stays out the back door. Like, to me, and again, we're not going to go over Rochester's team as much as we had in past years, because that's why we have these interviews. Again, go listen to the interview with Chamberlain Bauder that just came out on Wednesday if you want to know more about Rochester, but we're kind of focusing on Buffalo here. And this is one of those ones that I think you run the same lineup if Connor Farrell is not ready to come back. And based on already clinching playoffs, if you value Connor Farrell, I think they hold him out one more game. I think if he's back, Coffey just goes to the practice squad, and then you just kind of run the same team out there. So I would expect Hendricks and McCannell to be the healthy scratches just based on them holding Vancouver to 5 goals. I think for this one, if you're Buffalo, you need to limit the second chances with Rochester because they are such a good team of getting second and third opportunities on offense. That's why they have some of the highest shots on net in the league. That's why they have such good loose ball guys out there. Zed Williams, is he still out the back door, or are they going to shake it up because they know, okay, Zed Williams is the Bandit killer. Like, he could, or do they think, okay, he can stay and play and give Rochester another element Buffalo hasn't seen with Zed playing two-way type of position here? I think you need to limit Fields to six or fewer points. I think McConvey, Blaze, Hogue, Waters, and Zed combined 3 or fewer. I think Smith 2 or fewer, Lanchbury 1 or fewer. I think you need to hold this team to like 11 goals to win this game, just because I don't think you can hold them under 10. Like, I really don't think, as good as even Buffalo's defense has been playing, Rochester's offense, and maybe this is just me being a fanboy of Rochester's offense, but I think they're too lethal of a team and they have too much desperation to be held under 10. I think if you hold them to 11 or fewer, I think you win this game.
What if they do hold them to like, what are they on right now? They're 8, 7, and 5. Oh, 4 would be tough. 4 would be tough for Buffalo to keep going lower numbers every game. Asha would have to be held to 3. But no, I agree. I do think their offense is going to get theirs. I think more than anything, I mean, it's how literally every single game goes, but I think it's going to be more what can Buffalo's offense do after dropping 15 against Vancouver? Is do they go back to the team that struggled against San Diego and struggled against Saskatchewan and needed those fourth quarter comebacks? Or do we see a newly established Buffalo offense that is simply clicking the rest of the way, has McKay as a full-time forward, has Rezataritz as a full-time forward, and like, can their offense keep up with what Rochester's offense is likely going to be able to do? Because like you said, as well as Vince and the defense are playing, it is really tough to hold that team to under 10, so it's going to be up to the offense to have another big game.
Yeah, the only other thing here, and I caught wind of this when I was listening to Steve Perillo's podcast, driving around looking for garden soil the last few days. Nick Weiss, it's a possibility he does not play in this one. I'm not saying he will or he won't, but even Steve Perillo mentioned like Nick Weiss has had concussion issues with the fight last week and him getting cross-checked in the face and the punch with the helmet on. It's possible that they might hold him out precautionary. So don't be shocked if he's on the injury report this week, guys. Like, the practice isn't until Friday, so maybe everything's good and fine. But
Who are you throwing out there
instead of Nick Weiss? Yeah. I'm just going to say Carter Coffey because every time I say Taylor Dooley, it don't work.
But what if Farrell's out and you got Coffey already in? Then who you add?
Well, it's got to be Dooley, right? Because you lose another righty.
I mean, that means that Hendricks is likely going in, and he's going to play forward.
No, you put McCannell in.
No, you got to do whatever we think is right. Remember that the Bandits are going to do something wildly
throw
different.
Hendricks as a forward, throw McKay out the back door, strap on Evan C in the crease, and make Mad Vince be your transition player. That's what I want.
You got it.
See what you do now, Bandits. I confused the heck out of myself. I probably confused you. But, yeah, when we had Chamberlain Botter on, I mentioned Taylor Jensen, and like a couple off seasons ago I was joking like this is the time to get him, and then he sparked. But this is what he had to say about Taylor Jensen and the thing that grew the most this season.
Yeah, I think it's IQ. It's actually really easy when it comes to Taylor. He has, and I mean, I've heard this from every single coach that I've talked to about it, every person that has watched Taylor that is a lacrosse person that's watched him. He has every single tool possibly needed. He's also literally one of the fastest people. Like his like 10-yard jump like split is a record in Rochester. It's just like he is stupid fast. But then he also has the size to go with it. Even though he's lanky, he still has the size ultimately to go with it. And he now has just continuously now with last summer he played in Tonawanda, has added more and more box to his game over time. And it just completely is continuing to make him. I mean, I talked about him in our media availability last week because he had 2 blocks, a caused turnover, 9 loose balls against Oshawa. But he's like now in 3 seasons, and our franchise records are what they are in 6 years of existence. Taylor Jensen is top 10 in the franchise in loose balls, in caused turnovers, and in block shots. Like he's legit. He's completely legit. And
so while their back end has struggled this season, and while they can't find the consistency as a net, they still have pieces that can be very dangerous in the transition game. They have Pacino and Jensen and Gilroy that are speedy, so you do have to watch for that. I think, to me, I don't know if you differ on this one. I think it's Hartley, and I think it's Hartley because of what we saw after Hutchcraft got pulled last week and what we saw with Hartley earlier this season when he did face Buffalo. But I think if you get to him early, you also have to game plan, because there are so many teams in this league that only game plan for the starter. And we've heard this multiple times now. Buffalo does struggle at times, and most times, when the backup comes in. You kind of saw it versus Vancouver. They couldn't beat O'Toole. You saw it versus Halifax a few years ago. You see it in many, many times. Even in Colorado, they couldn't beat Whittam. Like, Buffalo struggles so much against the backups. I think this is a weird situation where you have to plan for both goalies, because the chances of both goalies not playing in this one are like near zero. I think both are going to make at least some type of appearance in this game. That's why I think if you get to Hartley early, they're going to yank him. They have such a short leash with starting goalies in Rochester. I think you got to play for Hutchcraft as well. I think you need to keep the engines going with the same 7 up top. Regardless if Nick Weiss is healthy or not, you need to keep the same 7 up top, because it's so important to go into the playoffs. Draw those power plays. Like I mentioned, I think special teams is going to be the difference in this one. And then get up early. Like, make Rochester feel that pressure of, if we do not come back in this game, our season's over. Like, make them start questioning themselves and getting angry and taking themselves out of the game. Because, again, while your playoff spot is clinched, you do not have a home game sitting at this moment right now. You need to win and get help. Like, it's not just winning is good enough. You need to win and get help. Win this game and give yourself an opportunity to have a first-round home playoff game, which is so important because of the one-and-dones.
Yeah, I have all my cool bet swag on right now. I wonder if there's any kind of prop for a guarantee that both goalies will be playing in this game.
If only we could use that app.
I do fully believe that, yeah, they have to prepare for both. It's been both of them in most of the games recently, so you can't go in thinking it's going to be one. And who, I mean, like you said, I agree with you. I think it's going to be Hartley. I think Hartley gets up for these kind of games. I think he'll play okay if he gets the start, but you have to be prepared for both. And even as your Buffalo, I don't know who you prepare for more. I know Hutchcraft has started recently, but I could see them easily flipping it back to Hartley. So I think you just have to prepare for both and kind of keep it even. But I am excited to see what this offense looks like again for another game. We just saw them put up 15 against Vancouver. I do think Vancouver had an off game, so I'd like to see that continue for Buffalo. I mean, it'll be interesting to see the rest of the way if they start scoring 11, 12, 13 in the next 2 games. I think I'd be much more confident in the team and the offense and just how they can possibly do in playoffs. But if we see them struggle again and go right back to, even against a lesser opponent, especially go back to 7, 8, 9 goals, I think it'd be add more question marks to the offense than I'd like. But like you said, the same 7 being up there, I think was huge in the last game. I think they're going to continue to roll with that. I mean, Nanticoke hasn't scored in the last 2 games. Not a shot against him. I think it's just showing what this offense, I mean, they scored 15 goals and Nanticoke wasn't a part of it. Yes, he did what he does best, which is clear lanes. He drew penalties. I'm not saying he was bad. He did what he needed to do, but he's had 0 goals in 2 games and they're still having a pretty decent offense. So I think if you can do that without a player of his caliber, I mean, if you can continue to have different scores and different ways on the offense and make teams respect every aspect of your offense and just the balance that it could be, I think this team can go a lot farther. But if we see them struggle again with passes or just have a really off night against a weaker opponent compared to Vancouver and the Rush, I think it would be quite questionable moving forward to see what this offense can really do. If it was Vancouver playing poorly or if it was the offense looking really good.
So, Phil, after their best offensive performance since Game 1 versus Georgia, last week you tried to keep the trend going with a 7-6 win. What is your prediction for this game?
I think they can get to 12. I do like what I saw out of the offense. I do think Vancouver had an off night for sure, but I do think the offense looked like it was rolling on all cylinders. I think that's what we see a little bit more of moving forward. So I'm going to go 12. And as much as I do agree with you that it's going to be hard to contain them, I'm going to give Rochester only 9. I think Buffalo's defense is just playing ridiculous right now. I think Vinc is playing ridiculous, and I think they have the ability to hold a team like Rochester to single digits, but it won't be, a 5 or a 6 or a 7. I do think 9's probably the best you can do against them.
Yeah, I think Buffalo is definitely going to get up for this game, not just, again, to get home field possibilities, but I think they would just love to be able to kick the little brother again and kind of send them packing. Like, you're going to have to find a new coaching staff. You're probably going to have to shake up this team. We're going to give you your 10th win. Plus, they want to get even for earlier in the season what started their losing streak. Rochester was the start of that 4-game losing streak that put them in that 4-6 hole that they were very, I don't want to say lucky, but they were on the brink of not being able to keep this core together. And I think Rochester was the start of that. So I got them winning. I'm keeping Rochester under the 11 goals that I said Buffalo needs to keep them to. I have it 13-10. I think Buffalo's offense can keep thriving. And I know back 2 weeks in a row, the offense kind of struggled until the 55-minute mark. I think because of where Rochester's sitting right now and the struggles that they're having in not finding consistency, I think they can put up like 7 goals on Hartley if he's starting or Hutchcraft if he's starting, pull the goalie and still find success with the backup. So I think it's 13-10. But Phil, it's that time. And it's a loaded milestones with 17 of them. It's the fastest milestone minute in all the land. All these possible milestones can be found on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each and every game. So if you miss one and you don't want to listen back, you can check for them there. Again, there's a lot of possible milestones. That's typically what happens when we reach the end of the season. The points accumulate and possible milestones can be hit. So here we go. Cam Wires is 2 caused turnovers away from setting a new career high. Ian McKay is 1 point away from setting a new career high, and Dylan Robinson is 1 point away from setting a new career high. Token Anacoke is 2 loose balls away from 200 for his career. Kyle Buchanan is 1 point away from 700 for his career. Mike McCannell is 6 loose balls away from 200 for his career. Steve Priolo is 2 block shots away from 100 for his career, as is Mitch DeSnoop at 4. Dane Smith is 2 assists away from tying Sean Evans for 4th place in NLL history. Token Anacoke is 2 goals away from tying Chris Cloutier for 10th place, as is Ian McKay. Dane Smith is 2 goals away from tying Mark Stainov for 2nd place in Buffalo Bandits history. Kyle Buchanan is 2 assists away from tying Chris Cloutier for 9th place in Buffalo Bandits history. Dane Smith is 2 caused turnovers away from tying Kevin Brunell for 3rd place in Buffalo Bandits history. This one's the funny one. Cam Wires is 1 caused turnover away from tying Josh Byrne and David Brock for 10th place in Buffalo Bandits history. And last 2, Dane Smith is 2 points away from tying John Tavares for 10th place in a single Bandits season. He's 8 away from tying Ryan Benesh and 10 away from, again, tying John Tavares for 8th. Josh Byrne is 6 points away from tying John Tavares for 10th place in a single Buffalo Bandits season.
105.
Not terrible, but
terrible.
It's the milestone. I got to get better. 17 is a lot to get an hour.
It was the big Dane Smith one with all of his points again. And the McCannell that
had to go correct.
You don't like to say his name correctly.
Every time.
A lot of milestones. A lot of milestones in the season. Dane and Josh, I don't think we were ever hard on Dane. We were hard on Josh. Yep. Real hard. And he's having quite the end to his season. And like you said, he's now top 5 in the league for points. So, he showed us, and I'm happy he did.
Yeah, he said it without words this time. Yes, that hurt my soul last time. I'm just kidding. Week 20 outlook. We're going to fly through these again. 6 games. They start Friday, 7:30. 10-6 Toronto, 8-8 Ottawa. We both took Toronto, but Buffalo Bandits fans, along with Buffalo winning, you're rooting for Ottawa in this one, so Buffalo can pull further ahead of Toronto, and I believe doing so would push Toronto out, and Toronto couldn't pass Buffalo because they would have the head-to-head, and it would be a 1 game with 1 game to go. So if Ottawa wins this one and Buffalo wins, Toronto can't jump Buffalo.
Yeah, Ottawa is about as desperate as it could possibly be. They look pretty bad recently. They're on a 3-game losing streak, haven't scored 10 goals in any of those 3 games, and they've continued to get worse and worse and worse. They need to find a way to get right. I don't know if Toronto's the game you want to do it against, but at least they're home. Maybe they can find some magic. I do not see Toronto really dropping this game, but Ottawa maybe just playing as desperate as they possibly can to make the playoffs. Maybe they'll find a way to win.
Yeah, if Ottawa loses this one and Halifax wins their game that's coming up here, it's win and get in week 21. And imagine if Ottawa, once again, that franchise misses the play. Like, when does Jeff T get on the phone? Like, if that happens, like, trade me now. Like, I'm not reporting anymore. It's insane. And the next game is Halifax in Vancouver, and poor Halifax, because I don't see them any chance they're winning this one after what happened in Vancouver. 9:00 game. We both took Vancouver, and as much as people are saying Halifax is still in it, I've buried them when Buffalo beat them, and I said whoever loses that game is going to be buried. Halifax realistically can still get in the playoffs here, but you're going against a team in Vancouver that is coached by Kurt Malowski, who is not going to be happy about a 5-goal performance and just how bad they actually looked. I think Vancouver could realistically win this one like 13-4. I really do think that could possibly happen. Vancouver is not going to be messed with in this one. I think if you're a betting man, bet everything you own on Vancouver. I don't see there's a possibility that they lose this one.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Vancouver's also fighting for not only just the number 1 seed possibly, but also a home playoff game. Again, extremely unlikely that they drop all the way down, but they just need a big bounce back from that game in Buffalo. And the whole league's looking at that game. I mean, it's like a poster game right now of how embarrassed you just got, and I don't think they're going to like that. So with Vancouver being at home, good luck to Halifax.
Unified standings are the greatest thing since sliced bread. There's 6 teams that still can get the number 1 seed. It's insane. With 2 weeks left. Rematch from last week, this time in Oshawa. 4-12 Calgary, 5-11 Oshawa. Again, last game you're rooting for Halifax, obviously. This one, I mean, they're both in the basement. They're both eliminated. Neither one have their own draft pick. So you're rooting for Calgary this week, even though you're rooting for last week, so you can bump Toronto's pick worse. And I think that's really all you're rooting for here. We both took Calgary, though.
Yeah, that's all I got. Keep moving on.
Saturday, 7 p.m. as well. 7-8 Las Vegas, 4-12 Philly. Philly only beats the top teams in the league, so we both took Vegas, but you're rooting for Philly in this one. Not because of draft pick implications, but you're just trying to push Vegas down further because their offense is so good, and you want last week of the regular season to be very interesting. If Vegas drops this one somehow, and they have back-to-back versus San Diego's got a realistic possibility to jump them and get in the playoffs next week.
Yeah, it could be a really interesting one. Philly has looked a little bit better recently, especially with the turnover, getting some young guys in there and everything, but I think Vegas's offense is going to be a bit too much for Philly to handle.
I'm looking right now just to check something. Yeah, this is the last game played in Philly as of this moment right now. Like, this is their last home game, so I think they're going to want to go with a bang.
Hopefully they get a sellout.
If there's a time to support your hometown team, Philly, it's now, because you might never see them again. Saturday, 9 p.m., this is the game of the week to me. 11-5 Colorado, 11-5 Saskatchewan. We both took Sask, but you're rooting for Colorado on this one, in my opinion. And the only reason is because Colorado, it's going to be hard to catch them and jump them. While if Buffalo wins and Sask loses, you do jump Sask. If Sask beats Colorado and Buffalo still wins, you're not jumping Colorado in this situation. So you can move up one more if Saskatchewan loses, but we both have them winning.
Yeah, I think this one is honestly massive for Saskatchewan. They've been on quite the slide recently, and I know a lot of those have been really close, but they need to find a way to get right before playoffs. They were the talk of the town to start the season, and they've gone on quite the skid to end it. So they need to find a way to get hot for themselves heading into playoffs, and Colorado's going to do everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen. But again, massive standings implications for this game, with Colorado trying to stay at the top, Saskatchewan trying to stay at the top. So could be really interesting to see which team wants it more.
Last one, Sunday Fun Day, 4:00, 6-9 San Diego, 10-5 Georgia. You took Georgia. I took San Diego. that people are hoping for San Diego because Buffalo then jumps Georgia. But if San Diego loses this one and Vegas wins, like, yeah, there still couldn't be playoff implications, but that could also mean Vegas is not even in a playoff spot. So if San Diego wins, it's very interesting. If San Diego loses, it might not be interesting anymore. But yeah, Sunday fun day for 3 days of lacrosse in week 20. Phil, what are your thoughts on this one?
I don't see Georgia losing it. San Diego's offense has been real rough recently. They only put up a couple goals against Toronto. They didn't do very well against Buffalo. Georgia, we already know with Dawson, and their defense looks really good. So I just don't see San Diego's offense magically putting it all together. I know they're going to be really desperate, but I can't see their offense magically finding a way to get past Georgia.
So that wraps up this episode. Remember, Phil's article came out on Tuesday. Give that a read, breaking down the 15-5 win over Vancouver. We got my interview with Chamberlain Botter came out on Wednesday. If you want to know more about Rochester, give that a listen. It's a long one, but just put it on like 1.3 and you'll breeze right through. It's a great interview. Power rankings and week 20 pick'em came out on Thursday, and then we're recording. It's like 5:05 right now on Wednesday. So if anything breaks, again, we're gonna put it in the universe. Mini belts for this. It's got to be coming soon, right? If you're gonna pick them up on Saturday, we'll see. But yeah, stay tuned. We'll be back on Monday to break down Rochester versus Buffalo. We'll talk about the most recent 2 Buffalo Sabres games as they lead into playoffs, and what happened in week 20 of the NLL race to the finals here, March to May. God, unified standings, Phil, are a godsend. But we'll wrap this one up now as soon as I find the outro button. There it is. And is it playing? It is. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. I am stumbling through this all. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure you leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. As it goes, I'm just going to end it. Till next time. Bye-bye.